Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to season two of TBI Uncovered, the platform that allows traumatic brain survivors to share their stories. Um, oh goodness, I'm messing up. Welcome to season two of TBI Uncovered, the platform that allows traumatic brain survivors, those with brain injuries, brain conditions, the disability community, wheelchair community, caregivers, medical professionals, organizations, and anyone associated with brain injuries to share their stories and provide resources and tips to those impacted. Today, I have a guest out from New Jersey, East Coast, where I'm from, and he's going to share his story about brainstem and stroke and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to bring him in and going to join in and hear his story. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. So I want you to introduce yourself and go on to your story.
All right. My name is Tymiak Hawkins, and as you mentioned, I'm originally from Philadelphia,
Really? Hey.
but I currently live in New Jersey. So I moved here after I graduated from college and live with my wife now here in New Jersey. Um, my to go into my story. So you just want me to jump into my brain story?
Yeah.
Okay, so what my story? So 2 years ago from tomorrow, so June 5th of 2019. Um, the day started out as normal as could be. Get up, brush my teeth, ready to attack the day. The day was supposed to be a special day as me and my now wife were preparing to take our engagement photo. We had an engagement photo shoot scheduled and we actually completed it.
Okay.
So that day it started out normal. As I said, I got up, went to go to the bank to take out some money for a haircut. So I can get my hair cut before the photo shoot,
Okay.
and the bank is about a 5 minute drive from the house. So I get up, go to the bank, and on my way back, just something just felt off. I just something just clicked, and my vision just got kind of blurry, and
Wow.
I just kind of attributed it to that I was just overworking myself at work, preparing for the engagement party and the photo shoot and for the wedding, and just overworking myself. So I kind of brushed it off, still went to my appointment, but instead of driving myself, I called for an Uber.
Okay.
My wife asked me why. I was like, I just don't feel comfortable driving right now. Maybe I'll take an Uber. So go through the appointment. I get there, and as the day goes on, my symptoms progressively get worse. So my wife has to drive to the location, which was our alma mater, Fairleigh Dickinson University.
Okay.
She had to drive, and typically I do the driving just because I like to drive. So because of my vision was off, I could tell you what color the car was in front of me, but I couldn't make out the license plate or what kind of car it was. I can only see like the colors. So again, I'm thinking, all right, I'm just tired. So we get there, and then my balance is off. So we're trying to take these pictures, and I can barely stand upright. So I'm leaning on her as we're taking pictures, and as we're moving, I'm falling all over the place. So I'm thinking, just downplaying it. Okay, maybe it's vertigo.
Right.
Um, so we made it through the shoot. We're on our way home. I say to my wife, I'm gonna go home and get something to eat and try to get some rest. And if I don't feel well when I get up, then we could go to the hospital. So
Mm-hmm.
here's where it gets interesting. Get home, I take a couple bites. I wasn't really hungry, so I go to sleep. And this was about 6, 7 o'clock. So I'm awakened from my sleep due to a dream that I have. So it's this figure that comes to me, and it says, it asked me, did I trust it? And I said, absolutely. So I make this figure out to be God for me. So essentially, God asked me, did I trust him? And I said, absolutely. He said, okay, son, well, we have to go. And I instantly knew what that meant. So I instantly woke up. I tapped my wife and I said, we got to go. So I remember like scaling the side of the house to get to the car.
Mm-hmm.
Um, while she's getting a little bag together and getting ready to take me to the hospital. Hospital, fortunately, was about a 10 to 12 minute drive. So I get there and I'm thinking I'm in for a long waiting room visit. But to my surprise, they asked me what was going on. I explained to them, hey, I've been having symptoms of vertigo. My balance is off. My vision is blurry. Like my leg is feeling a little numb. So they immediately take me to the back, start running some tests. And I remember the nurse saying that they were going to run an IV. So I asked her, I'm asking her like, hey, when are you going to run the IV? Because they were, taking me for a CAT scan. So she said, I already ran it. And that's when I knew something was really wrong. I didn't even feel the IV being run in my left arm. So at that point, my left side was numb. The right side of my face was numb, was essentially paralyzed. So I lost the function on the right side of my face, left side of my body. Took me for a CAT scan. The results came in the chest X-ray. The chest X-ray came back clear. The CAT scan, they came into the room and mentioned the diagnosis that they found a mass on my brain at that time from the CAT scan. So simultaneously, as the doctor is giving me that news, that figure from my dream is in the corner of my room, is just saying, remember what I told you, that, I'm going to take care of you. So, I have to look at my wife, and tell her, like, I'm going to be fine. In that moment, I couldn't really explain why, but I could just look at her with reassurance and tell her that I was going to be fine, as devastating of news as that was. Right. So she called my mom. She called my parents. My mom, they came, and next was a MRI. So the MRI revealed what the true diagnosis was that I had a bleed on my brain from cavernous malformation, or cavernous angioma in medical terms. So I had essentially had a slow leak from the cavernous malformation onto my brain over a period of time, which I can backtrack and remember having different symptoms over the span of time, as I would say the blood was slowly leaking onto my brain. But overlooking all that, being unaware of what it was. So I just kind of took it, okay, I have a cavernous malformation, I had to bleed. And it was some kind of reassurance there, because my brother had a cavernous malformation as well, and his he had a bleed as well, and it caused epilepsy. So it was kind of a familiar situation. So it was some sort of relief, but it was still a traumatic event. Yeah. So I spent a week in the hospital, being administered a steroid to reduce the swelling on my brain. So the bleed occurred at the brainstem. And so it was impacting my breathing, my heart rate, my motor skills. So it was a very intricate location. So for me, it was, the fine motor things was what really stood out. Essentially, having a bleed at the brainstem like I did can result in what's called lockdown syndrome, where you can only move your eyes. So I was in the hospital bed for about a week. Then they finally came and tried to get me to move around, and I realized I had to use a walker, because I couldn't. My mind was, I thought that I could get up, but what happened to my body, it couldn't withstand at that time what was going on. So I had to use a walker to support myself. They put me through some physical therapy tests to determine if I could go home or if I needed to go to an acute facility. They determined I had to go to an acute facility, which was, when I heard discharge, I'm thinking, I'm going home. So I'm going home. So I didn't want to hear nothing about acute facility, nothing. Like, I just wanted to go home. So then, my mom and my wife talked to me. You aren't in good enough shape to go home, and I wasn't. So Then I was transferred to a acute inpatient rehab facility where I had to relearn to walk, relearn to stand, like anything that I essentially had to relearn everything, minus talking. I could always talk coherently, but with the right side of my face essentially being paralyzed, it made things made things a little difficult. So I had a vigorous 3 weeks of physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. And speech therapy was for the exercises to learn to regain the functions of my face.
Yeah.
So physical therapy, it was pretty tough because, like I said, in my mind, and my mind is like, oh, you can just get up. And my body is like, yeah, that's not happening. So, when I first could stand up on my own, I was essentially locked in. So everything was uptight. My shoulders was up. I could only hold my head. I could only move my eyes. So my head was turned and I could only move my eyes to I would have to adjust to the way that I was needing to go. So it was a very vigorous, therapy. I had 3 hours. So I would say in total 4 hours of therapy, 3 1-hour sessions and 2 half-hour sessions. And I experienced the fatigue that comes with it. After the first hour, I'm pretty wiped out, going back to my room, taking a nap as if I worked a 16-hour day or something. But I had a wonderful team of therapists who really, were godsend, and I would say they took pride in their job because they really were invested in seeing me recover. Seeing somebody at the age of 29 come in, that's a rarity for them. So, they took really good care of me, and they took a lot of pride in get me back onto my feet, and knowing that I had a wedding to prepare for 3 months later. So that was an incentive for me to really really get after it. And also just the support that I had. My wife was there sleeping in a recliner most nights, and alternating shifts with my mom. So there was always somebody there if I needed something. My family would show up. My friends would reach out just to make sure I was in good spirits. The thing for me is I kind of deceived everybody because in talking to me, you would never know that things were going to, or I was in the shape that I was in, because in my mind, I was fine. I'm like, oh, this is just a little setback. I'm going to be back to work in a couple of weeks. Things are going to be back to quote unquote normal. Right. So, when people would see me, actually, it was like, man, I'm not expecting this based on talking to you on the phone. And so, my mind stayed intact the whole time. I never wavered or lost, I always held on to that dream that, I was going to be fine. So over time, I was able to, it was fun rolling around the facility in a wheelchair. I felt like a rock star in a sense, because every floor they knew who I was. So, I made the most of it. Towards the end, I got a little antsy as they start to say, oh, you're moving towards a graduation date. Like, oh man, I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to go home. So finally I get discharged, and I go home after a month, and, out of the house. I leave the house one day, thinking things are normal, and I don't return home for a month. So from there, it became, my wife and my mom taking me to therapy appointments. And, so I had outpatient therapy. I was going 3 hours a day, 3 days a week for physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. I graduated speech therapy first because my facial functions came back, fortunately.
That's it. Praise God.
It's all, that's all glory to God for that. Then I was able to move from physical therapy, graduate from there. It was vigorous, relearning, just to move, ride a bike, you get on the elliptical. Well, first it started with the basics, learning to take steps, stand up, balance yourself. So I'm doing a lot of different tests, standing up, seeing if I could keep my balance, closing my eyes. That's a whole nother ball game, trying to close your eyes. So I had no sense of space. So as soon as I would stand up, I was fine if I could see things around me. But as soon as I closed my eyes,
You can't see
I
them.
lost all sense of space. So I would my body would just start to lean, and it was a very unique experience. But I was just so determined to recover, because like I said, I had so many things to look forward to. I had the dream that I was reassured that it was already done. I just had to put the work in. And I never wavered from the work. And I remember going to appointments. So from here, I'm going to neurosurgery. They're thinking maybe I need what's called gamma knife, which is a radiation procedure to help shrink the cavernous malformation, or it was to have it have surgery and have it removed. So I went for a second opinion to my neurologist, and they deemed, based on my age and my recovery rate, that I didn't need surgery and everything was compressing back to normal. So, which was, another blessing. Then my one issue I had to figure out was my vision. I couldn't quite explain like what was happening. I just didn't have a clear picture like I used to. And so my occupational therapist advised that I go to a neurooptometrist to see what was going on. So they determined I had a vertical imbalance in my eyes, so it's causing me to have double vision. So if I that point, if I were to look at something, I would see two of it slightly over each other, like one over the other, just slightly. So they prescribed me prism lenses, which are these lenses here. So there's no prescription because I have 20/20 vision, but it's a prism lens that bends the light to make me see straight, to allow me to see straight until I go to vision therapy to correct it. So that was essentially, my journey from the inside out. I was never in danger, but from the outside in, I was in all kinds of danger.
Right, just all kinds of stuff. So who were you before your injury?
That's a interesting question, because it took for this injury for me to figure out who I truly was. So if you were to know me before this injury, I would say, I'm Tymiak Hawkins, the basketball player. I played collegiate basketball, and I played basketball since I can remember. So I had the complex where I identified basketball as who I was and not what I did. So everybody, growing up, they knew me as a basketball player. So in my mind, I'm like, I just got to keep this up because people know me as this. And so I was just giving a shell out of myself until this injury came about. So that's honestly all I knew myself as was a basketball player, honestly. So at that point, I would say I was living more selfish than selfless, and just worried about, essentially basketball myself. That's what I would say I was before. I was, always the outgoing nice guy, but I would say in terms of me defining myself, I had to sit back and reflect. And it was like I only knew myself through the sport until recently.
Yeah, a lot of people identify themselves in like sports, like you said, or like their work or whatever that they do. And so it's interesting. I think you sent me a message from the Instagram from you said you saw me in Clubhouse. And so I was so excited because when I saw the video, so I was like, "Oh, you play basketball!" I was like, "Oh my goodness!" I was so excited to get to hear your story. I knew it was something, so I wasn't surprised, but I'm just like, I got to interview him. Like, I just have to interview him because I love basketball. I'm a basketball fan. Like, I love LeBron James, like Laker Nation. So, who's your favorite team?
The Sixers. I'm a LeBron fan, but as a team, the Sixers, because I'm from Philadelphia. Yep.
I knew it. So, I noticed you. So, did you use basketball most of the time for your therapy, or how did that come in play? Using basketball, because I did the your phone video. You doing the basketball, the slide back and forth. So is that
Yeah,
therapy, or like constantly, or was that like something you just thought of to do and they let you do it because you play basketball?
that was something that was incorporated down the line. At first, I was in no shape to pick up a basketball, to dribble a basketball, to do any of that stuff that you see on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, you have to scroll back to see the shape that I was in. I was using parallel bars to stand up, hold myself up. I was learning how to get up out of a wheelchair, and you know, so I had to progress. That just came from being determined to get better and get back to some sense of what you know, what I did. Not, I won't say back to normal, you know, because I've embraced what happened. So for me, it was just to regain something that I love to do, that I knew. So they knew that I played basketball. One of my goals was to get out there and to be able to dribble and play again, because I was told I would never be able to do it again. So to be able to do what you see in the videos, it was just, you know, my will to want to do it and, you know, prove myself right. I wanted to bet on myself and double down that I could do it. Um, so yeah, it was a progression. I had to work to get there. I know, you know, I might make it, might on the videos, you know, I might make it seem easy, but it was a lot of months of work. You know, a lot of sweat, a lot of tears, a lot of, you know, different emotions that went into getting to those moments to be able to pick up a basketball, because it was a point in time where I didn't even want to see a basketball.
Yeah. For me, I can relate to what you're saying because I haven't did very many therapy videos, but I've taken pictures, and it's so much hard work. Even just standing up, like you said, in parallel bars, it takes so much strength. It takes so much out of you, and just so I can relate to it because I'm going through that process now, so it's like I get it. I get it.
And I was in a acute facility with a lot of elderly people. So and when I'm going through physical therapy, they're lapping me around the hallway. So it took work. You know, I remember I couldn't even make it down the hallway without getting tired or needing to sit back into the chair. So I would have the walker and I would have an assistant behind me having the chair for if I needed to sit down. But I had, you know, older ladies that were just, you know, lapping me, you know, just because they were in better shape at the time. But I used it as, you know, it was all, I was, you know, I never compared. It was just, I wanted
Yeah,
to get there where they were.
yeah,
And it was some things that I could do that they wanted to get to, like lifting the little 3 and 5 pound weights. You know, they would always say, I wish I could do that. And I'm like, I wish I could walk as quickly as you do. So,
yeah.
you know, hey, if we work at this together, we can make it happen, encourage each other. So, you know, we took pride in helping each other out every day.
I love that. So moving forward, so tell me about all the amazing. Well, one of your greatest moments post TBI or post your injury, your stroke. Like,
Uh,
was it would it be your wedding or?
Yeah, I would say,
Yeah.
like, personally, it's you know, it's definitely my wedding to be able to walk down the aisle unassisted, especially after being told I wouldn't walk for, you know, 6 to 12 months, and I was back in walking unassisted in 3 months, fortunately.
Wow.
So that was one of my biggest accomplishments for me. Also, you know, my growth spiritually, and just in myself. My growth as a person overall was a big accomplishment, and how I turned from being a selfish person into being selfless and wanting to help others. So, you know, just taking pride in what I do as far as telling my story and being vulnerable enough to tell it to, you know, hopefully impact somebody else's life to keep pushing forward.
That's good. So what do you do as like a, I guess a quote unquote job occupation when it, say like I saw you had a certified personal trainer.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
So before you know, my stroke and my, you know, injury, I worked for Verizon, so I was in sales. Then afterwards, I landed, you know, what I call the dream job for me, where I was hired to help out one of my relative run his company. So I helped him run his financial literacy company, and he hired me to help him out. So that's what I do now for work. I'm also I did get into personal training, but I felt that was a little premature because I was doing things to keep myself busy because I always felt that I needed to be doing something. So I kind of took a break from that and just focused on my main job, which is assisting to run the financial literacy business called Your Finances Simplified. And I also have been, you know, taking the time to finish my book, which I actually just finished, and hopefully I'll have everything released for the end of this month. You know, so that's kind of why I took a break from some things because I had to get that done, and also my brand here that you see to the T. And working on bringing that all together to go along with my primary job.
So where did it come from, to the T? Where did it come from?
So to the T came from, so the name came from derived from both me and my brother's name, Tymiak and Tehran. So it's two T's essentially. And then it just grew in meaning. It started out as support for epilepsy awareness, and then, you know, because me and my brother are so close, you know, just our relationship just kind of derived from that, and then it just turned into something with a purpose. You know, we were just playing around with it, and then it became, who would have ever imagined that you have two brothers that are so close that have, you know, similar health experiences, you know, and it just was something that came to be purposeful at the end of the day. So that's where it started from.
Okay, I love that. So what goals do you still look to achieve?
I'm sorry, what was that?
What goals do you still look to achieve?
Oh, my goals now are, you know, my goals have changed tremendously. So personally, from, you know, just my personal standpoint is to just continue to get better. You know, continue to fight to put forth my best effort to continue to improve. And, you know, until I feel I reach the point that I feel I'm 100%. So people from the outside looking in will look at me and say, "Oh, you can run, you can talk, you're 100%." And internally, like, I feel it every day. Is I get up, some days I'm sore, some days I feel good. You know, every day I'm in pain. You know, I have nerve pain that goes from my shoulder down into my leg, but I don't complain about it. Or, you know, I still try to live with a smile, and I'm good at, quote unquote, hiding, you know, the disabilities. So, you know, because I don't want it to be a crutch to myself. I don't want to use it. Oh, you know, well, this happened, so I'm supposed to feel this way. And that's not to diminish anybody's feelings. This is just my mindset. You know, I don't want to, you know, hold on to it and it limit, you know, my mind and what I believe in myself. So that's one goal, is to just continue to get better myself, to continue to become a better person, you know, to help out as many people as I can with my story, because, you know, they say that if your story can be somebody else's survival guide. So, and also to break the stigma, because a lot of the things I heard after having having the stroke, having a bleed, you know, was, "Oh, you got to take care of yourself." And I'm like, I was a college athlete. I ran, I ate well, you know, so it's not that I didn't take care of myself. This was just destined to happen, you know, and I was, you know, fortunately I was strong enough to overcome. But for me, a goal is to break down those stigmas that stroke can only happen to people who are older, people who are out of shape, you know, things like that, because it doesn't discriminate. You know, I know people who are younger than me. I've met people that are younger than me that have had strokes. Technically, my brother had a stroke, you know, had a bleed, which they would consider a stroke at the age of at 4. So, you know, it's not something, you know, that people just see and it's like, oh, okay, he's not taking care of himself or things like that. So my goal is to break down the stigma and create, we're in a time of inclusion. So I want for people to understand, just what it is and, break down the stigma. So, we feel supported and, safe, that, we recognize the signs. I didn't recognize the signs as they were happening. So, I feel like being given a second chance, I'm supposed to be out here. My goal is to help out others and to educate others on this.
Of course. So I love that. It's very important that we bring awareness to these things that we go through, because they're not just for us, there's help as well. And like you said, you don't know who is spending on your story or your fight to get through. Looking at you like, well, if he can get through it, I can get through it too. So you don't know who your encouragement is, they say. So
right.
Could you share more about I love your Born Decades Apart? Is that what it's called?
Oh yeah. The Born Decades Apart little short doc.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, who is it?
So how that came about was, I had reached a point where, I knew my family, they supported me, but I needed to be around people who could actually 100% relate to the shoes that I was in, who could understand and have been through it. Yeah. And so I had joined, a couple of groups, and I had met my friend Kyle, who is, he's the leader or founder of Your Stroke of Genius. And so I've been going to what you call the brain mini bars, and me and Kyle got close, and he asked me, since I was so open about telling my story, if I would be willing to, share my story in a short documentary with him and our other friend Corey. And we were all basketball players who had strokes decades apart, and it impacted us in different phases of our lives and career. So we just the goal was to tell our stories, meet up, tell our stories while playing a game of horse, where we take shots and just meet up in person and tell our stories on film, and get that out there to help others, from different perspectives. So I have a different perspective. I was the most recent. Then Kyle was the furthest out, so he was probably had the most information out of all three of us, and Corey was in the middle. But we all had individual, unique experiences and unique perspectives.
Yeah. And so when is that coming out?
So they're working on it now. I have to reach out to Kyle to see, they're editing that. So the hopes is to get it out for the start of the NBA playoffs, since they're related to basketball, but life happens. So, just patiently waiting to see when that's going to be done. But, you'll start to see the post for that once it's all done and finalized.
Can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it. So why is awareness important to you? Beyond why else would you say it's important? Like, would you ever consider starting an organization?
Yes.
Or the organization that you are started.
So To the T is an organization. So as a brand, right? It started as a brand. So what I plan to take that a step further and start a To the T Foundation nonprofit to raise awareness for epilepsy and stroke and brain injury. That's just what I feel moved to do, and just to see if you would see the progression of how To the T came about. This wasn't the original logo that you see here. My wife actually designed the internal part, and then I had the thought to incorporate the shield for protection. So I wanted it to be a brand and a foundation that represented protection of those, within the different communities.
I love that. This space is powerful. I didn't even realize that. So it's a shield, and this is To the T. So
yep.
I love it. I love it. So what advice would you? Last question. What advice would you give to someone in your situation? And to survive?
I go on and on. I would say, once the book is done, I'll give you one thing. best piece of advice I would say is, it's two short ones that kind of combine. Is take your time. There's no rush in this process. Take each day as its own. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, but take each day in its own. Keep a positive mindset. Also, do not compare yourself to others in their situations, because I see it a lot. Even with me, people ask me about my situation and try to compare, like, okay, you were walking in 3 months, so I should walk in 3 months. And my hope is for you to be able to walk in 3 months, but realistically, I have to tell you, hey, don't compare your situation to mine, because you may have an even more powerful story than me when it's all said and done. So, take your journey, enjoy your journey, and put your blinders on, and don't compare yourself to anybody else.
Yes, and then this is very powerful. When I say I compare myself like all the time, it was like it was so hard not to, especially if you can't same thing happen to you. It's like, well, what's going on with me then? Like, what's wrong with me there? I'm not healing that fast. So it makes you think like, what's wrong with you? But there's nothing wrong with you. You just our bodies are different, and every injury, every injury is different.
And you can't, and especially another big thing I see is people compare themselves to who they used to be or what they used to be. And I think I did a great job at blocking that out. It's tough with basketball and things like that, but I think I did a good job at trying to block out getting back to normal. I embraced who I was becoming. I understood it was different. But I try to incorporate some of those things of who I was that I enjoyed. And if I can do them, good. I know a question that I got was, if you could never play basketball again, how would you feel? And I'm like, at this point, I'm fine. If I never picked up a basketball, I can still do the things that I would like to do in life. It's other things. I'll pick up something else, I'll figure it out. But, you just have to be resilient.
That's right. It's powerful. I love that. This is very powerful. I, cause I think before I got injured, I don't even know where my life would have been at. It's just to give this injury to give my life so much more meaning, so much more purpose. I would say, it just opened my eyes up to different possibilities and different things. So I definitely agree with you when you say that. Definitely.
Yeah. I would say before this happened, I was walking around purposeless. I was just existing. I wasn't living. I was just, following the American dream, get my job, get my career, and just like that same cycle. And I didn't have a purpose or a passion, or my passion was basketball, but I didn't have a purpose. This happened and my purpose resurrected from it. And, now I feel, rejuvenated. I feel like I have meaning to my life now. So it is.
Everybody's face being such. I mean, you can't even explain. It's like it's so freeing. Like it's so freeing.
No, yeah, I definitely agree with that 100%. It's definitely freeing. You being able to be you, feel purposeful, and just live as yourself and show the world who you truly are. Because I feel we try to like fit into society and fit into these different molds, and a lot of us are designed. We're all designed uniquely, so. And unfortunately, it takes time. It takes experiences like this for us to realize that.
Right. It's so right. You're so right. Well, I think you're doing an amazing job. Keep doing what you're doing. I wish you the best with your marriage and everything else, and to the T. And that documentary, I'm gonna look forward. So I'm really looking forward to everything that you have going on, and continue to be blessed and prosperous. Is all I gotta say. So you're doing wonderful.
Thank you. I wish can you continued success on your journey and all your current and future endeavors as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So this has been this has been eye opening and so insightful. I'm really appreciative of this experience. And I'm glad you found me and messaged me, because this wouldn't have happened if you hadn't. So I thank you for that.
Thank you for having me. I just feel it was big to start reaching out and connect within the community, and to just get our stories out there. So, that's my mission. I'm going to continue to do that, to help out as many people as I can. That's my goal. And you know, I'm not going to stop. My goal started out with just helping one person. And then once I started to see the positive feedback, now I just can't, you know, stop sharing the story in hopes to helping, you know, as many people as possible.
That's right. I love that. So yeah, thank you. I thank you for your time, though. It's been really, like I said, impactful and insightful. So thank you for your time and your honesty and your truth. So
Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you for having me.
we'll be talking, you know, through social media. So, but it's fine.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I'll be sharing, you know, I'll be sure to send you everything as it's finishing up, to let you know the projects that I'm finishing up and as they're coming out. Like I said, the book was called Becoming a Light. That should be coming out soon, finalizing that and you know, continuing with the brand and that the short documentary. So I'll be sure to let you know as soon as that's done.
So much to say. I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, you have a good day, and we'll be talking.
All right, you enjoy the rest of your day too.
So thank you for joining.
No problem.
Bye. Thank y'all for joining TBI Uncovered. This is Renee signing off. See you later.